Hello and welcome to All in Wellness. Today we have a special guest with us, the beauty pro coach, Krystine Sherwood. Hello.
Hello.
Whether you're looking to enhance your physical health, nurture your mental resilience, or simply find a moment of peace in your day, you're in the right place. Let's embark on this journey together, embracing all the possibilities that wellness has to offer. I wanted to talk a little bit more about your background. So you're an internationally certified life coach. You're a salon and spa owner, a podcaster, and a graduate of the University of North Florida with a BA in public law and a BS in public relations. You own a version of success in the beauty industry through various self-love, one-on-one coaching, online live courses, and in-person events and education. I would love to hear a little bit more about your passion and background. And without further ado, welcome as well. And I'm very excited to have you as a guest speaker. So tell us a little bit more about your journey.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, Amanda, thank you for having me on. All the things that I have done and am doing, right? Being in this industry, you kind of learn to do everything all at the same time. And so just a little bit about me is that I grew up in the professional beauty and barber industry, right? I remember being a little girl and sitting in the back room and like peeking out from behind the door and like seeing everybody in the salon going crazy.
I love it.
You know, at the time it was like, oh my gosh, this is so boring. But now as an adult looking back, it's one of my favorite memories, right? Because now I am running a salon in partnership with my mom and salon and spa. And I can't imagine my life without being in the salon, right? I go on vacation and I go to a salon to get my nails done or a facial or a massage. Like it's part of who I am.
Yes.
So with that, I grew up and I was like, I'm never going to do that. I'm going to go to school and I'm going to be a lawyer. Or I'm going to be, a PR girl like Sex and the City, Samantha, and I'm going to do all those things. And then I get out there and it is so boring. Like I just couldn't understand how people did the same thing every single day. Right. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I could do this. So then I graduated university and I said, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to find myself. I'm just going to take a year. And I ended up right back in the family business. And I said, oh my gosh, what is happening here? Like, we need to change this stuff. And I'm a very organized type A, OCD, probably some ADD in there too. I was like, what is this? This is not okay. Like, yes. And so that's how it started. And now fast forward, it's probably been about 10 years now of, finding myself. And we just got awarded #1 salon in our area, which is so exciting.
That's
Thank
incredible.
you.
What an
Thank
accomplishment. And you can feel the rewards, right? Of putting all the hard work in and you can see all the word of mouth, I'm sure too, with all the feedback and it's a huge accomplishment. Do you find yourself pinching yourself like, how did 10 years go by? How did this happen?
Totally. Like with that simple recognition, like I honestly thought it was fake. Like I almost threw away the information. I was like, this is such spam. Like and I was like, wait a second, hold on. Like through my whole story, my whole journey up until this moment is so beautiful because you realize like, it's not about you, right? Like it's not about me. It's about this whole team, all of these people in my life that have come together and we've all kind of walked the same path, the same journey to be where we are today. And it's been a wonderful ride and I'm very happy about it. And I'm really excited to know like what's going to happen this year and the future. And even with the coaching and all of the beauty trade shows that God willing, I will be at this year sharing my expertise, my insight, my education. And it's been really fun. I'm really happy about it.
I feel like a little bit of serendipity here because I just shared a similar reward and it was just in August. I don't know where it came from. And I thought, this can't be right. Somehow I was nominated, but also awarded the most dedicated medical aesthetic spa owner in Minnesota. And we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary as well.
I
So we're
love
on the same
that.
page.
I
And
love it.
it's just so much about, like you said, helping, right? Just helping people feel
Yeah.
better, look better. And I feel like when we do the right thing, you know, it comes back to us, right?
Yeah.
Tenfold. And it's just, it was an amazing thing. I had to have staff actually remind me to celebrate because I just do my work. I like to do my thing and just focus on what I'm doing. And, you know, you have to step back and realize like what an accomplishment that is, right? Just
Totally.
everything come to fruition. So I'm very happy for you. That is an amazing, amazing accomplishment.
Thank you.
And what would you say in like the last 5 years, have you noticed with your shift and finding yourself, is there anything you've become better at, you know, saying no? Are there distractions or invitations that you had to maybe say no to, or just new realizations or approaches that helped you?
Yes. So it is really fitting that we're talking on Valentine's Day, right? And then this question comes up, and I do believe the biggest influence I feel in all of our lives are our relationships, right? We are a very intimate business. Whether people respect what we do or they don't, there is always a moment that they will find themselves in the salon. And with the salon, we have boundaries, business boundaries, as I like to call them, salon systems. There are money matters that we have to pay attention to and we have to deal with because we have to pay the bills. But then we love what we do, but then perhaps some of us actually want to have a relationship and we can't always serve two masters, right? Because
Correct.
we have our significant other that we want to make happy, but then we have our clients and our team and our community that we just love, and it just like fills us up to be able to serve them too. And it's like, good Lord, like how do you make both? And I always refer back to the movie of Devil Wears Prada. And there's
Amen.
there's a line in there that Stanley Tucci says that, you know, when you're doing well at your work life, your personal life will go up in flames. And it is so true. And so to answer your question, the majority of my 20s was spent in a terrible relationship, if you can even call it that. And it was up and down and full of learning lessons and daddy issues. And it was just terrible, right?
And our 20s are so hard. I mean, you're finding yourself, you don't really know who you're
Right.
really meant to be, and you're just kind of discovering you. And then, you know, you just get into a relationship that had to be very hard. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's very hard to go through
Yeah.
that for anyone. I think so many
Right.
can relate to that.
Oh my gosh. And because you want to be on the right path to get to your dreams. But then as a woman, you know, you kind of want to have kids, you want to settle down. But then there's that part of you that is still kind of unfulfilled, right? And then if it's like a bad guy, you're really like all over the place,
Been there,
right?
done that, unfortunately.
Yeah. And so it's like now I look at the younger stylists and estheticians and, you know, in the back room, and they're having boy talk, right? Boy problems. And I'm always like, you know what? You're in your 20s, right? Yeah. Make all the mistakes, go fast, fail forward, do it quickly, because it's an initiation period, and then you'll learn, and then you can move forward.
Yeah.
So
I feel like you have to see what you don't want, right? And there's no way to learn that unless you go through it. Unfortunately,
Exactly.
you just have to learn the lessons sometimes. But
yeah.
yes,
And it's
I think
like it's similar to like trainings too. When you're out serving clients, there's always that one professional who's always like, no, I got it. And then they get like this seething review. And it's like, well, you kind of were trained not to do that, you know?
right.
So
Any other tips that you can give, you know, I just found myself saying no to things so I can focus more on one thing at a time.
yeah,
And just
for sure.
I do like the challenge. I always like something new, but just tuning out the distractions for me, I think was so important to be able to be successful, right? But it
For
is
sure.
true. I feel like what we focus on is what succeeds. And like you said, it's hard to balance the business and personal life. And work-life balance is a very common topic, I think, these days. And trying to find that when you're an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
how do you go about that? So we're still discovering,
We're
right?
still, you're always going to be a work in progress, right? I talk about that a lot with my coaching clients. Like, you're never going to find perfection. Like, you're never going to be complete in that sense. Like, oh, I'm done and I can just move on. No, it's new levels, new devils. So you're going to keep enhancing what you know. It's all about self awareness, I think, for me. The work life balance piece, it's exactly what you said. Like, what you focus on grows. And for me, it is very easy for me to just focus on one area and forget about everything else. Um, there was a time where I would totally just work, and I wouldn't even go to the bathroom. I wouldn't drink water. I wouldn't eat
Hmm.
until I was done. And that's not good. You
I
hurt
bet
yourself.
it is not
It's
healthy. It's
it's
definitely, I
so
mean, it's a
bad.
workaholic syndrome, I guess I would
Yeah.
call it. But, there's a very small percentage, I think, that are willing to do what it takes. And it's good to be dedicated. But then you realize, you step back, and you're like, wait a minute, what am I
Yeah.
doing? I need
Yeah.
to find a balance,
Yeah.
like we said, with your family. And,
Yeah.
and it's when you have so much passion, don't you think, for what you do,
It's
it
true.
really is hard to say no. And you want to always, take care of the things that need to be done. And
Yeah.
would you say when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused or have lost your focus temporarily,
Mhm.
what do you like to do other than having self-awareness?
So what I do is journaling is a huge thing for me. And when you journal, and I tell even my team this, we don't like to do it because it takes so much time, but it's actually, you're slowing down, you're emptying your filing cabinet up here, and you're putting it on paper so you can see it. And you're making room for more emotions, more thoughts, more ideas, you know? So, journaling for me is a huge thing. Taking time away from the salon and spa is huge for me, especially recently, because what we do is not who we are.
I love
I
that.
I have many passions, like a lot. Like, I love animals. I love my little puppy dog. I I'm all about having personal relationships and family and church, and I'm on this country girl kick recently.
Wow, that's
I think
great.
I think it's all because of Yellowstone. Like,
Oh yeah,
I am looking up, like, horseback riding lessons. I milked a cow for my birthday not too long
that's
ago. Like,
incredible.
and so I feel like you need to, as a person in this industry, you need to nurture all those different parts of you, because that's what makes you you. And then
100%.
when you do that, you are a more fulfilled individual behind the chair, in the room, and you're able to really give your all to your client, you
I
know?
so agree with that, because I just feel like if we take care of us, we're going to be able to perform
Yeah.
better, right, at a higher level. And
Yeah.
I've kind of instilled a similar practice. And I also love when you notice that you're just very overwhelmed or it's just fast paced. Sometimes I just close my eyes for 10 seconds and
Yes.
I do some deep breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Breathe, inhale as hard as you can through your nose and blow it out as hard as you can out of your mouth. And that
Yeah.
does really help, but it's very hard sometimes, like when you're in that environment, right, to
Mm-hmm.
separate. So sometimes I just have to step out of the building, maybe just
Yeah.
change my environment and
Yeah.
just,
Get
even if it's a
outside.
brief 10 minutes or just walking outside, and can really, I've noticed, just propel me into resetting, my brain,
Yeah.
right? Just to kind of be able to take a little break and just reset. It's so
Yeah.
important. I think there's just so much coming at us
All the time.
all the time,
All
and
the time. Like, just the last 2 weeks or so, there has been so much happening, from the holidays and then the family and then whatever else is happening in your life, like with clients and work, that I kind of like hit a wall recent. I'm coming out of it now, but like, I hit a wall to the point I had zero focus. I couldn't sleep. I was eating, I do have celiac, so I can't be eating bread. And I found myself eating bread. I was getting
no.
sick. I was like, just all of these things, because you're just so spent, right?
Yes.
And I think what shifted is, for me, I made myself take a break. I made myself go to the gym, and even there it was hard because it's a
Mhm.
mental game, right? And you just,
It is.
oh, I
Sometimes you
made
just have to
myself.
force it. It's
Yeah.
hard.
And then it worked itself out, and I feel okay now. But
Mhm.
oh, when you are going through it, I know that your listeners know this, that it is tough, and you just gotta face it head on.
And it's hard when it's the weather and low vitamin D levels and
That
no
too.
sunshine in some of our Midwestern areas, right?
Yes,
And
I'm sorry, you guys.
yeah. But I've heard even in southern areas where you have to be inside when it's so hot, people have depression,
Oh yeah.
come up because they're indoors all the time and
Yes.
they're not actually getting outside as much as you would think.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily always in the cold
Hmm.
Midwestern states, right? So,
Yeah.
but just being aware, I think, and sometimes having just someone that's going through it to relate to, knowing you're not
Yeah.
alone, I think is really huge, right? Getting a support system and just having those people that can help maybe just talk through it or just
Yeah.
listen.
Hmm.
Because I think we all go through those times. And January is a hard month, the new year,
Oh
and
yeah. Everybody's
it's
like coming down from all the hype, and
mhm.
family. I know I always joke around when it comes to the holiday season. It's like, oh, it's the annual family feud. It's happening again, like.
Oh yes.
So now we're in February. You are
Hmm.
not alone. You are never alone. There's always somebody out there. And you just have to ask for what you need. You just got to
Hmm.
speak it out, and you will get a return. You just got to pay attention to it. But
For me, just praying and
mhm.
remembering to pray because sometimes when you're going through a storm, you
Mhm.
catch yourself being overwhelmed, and I've caught myself just not even in my zone and
Yeah.
just realizing I actually need to pray and I just need to ask
Mhm.
for what it is. You'd be surprised, right? What
Yeah.
the Lord will do for you.
Absolutely. And being in this industry, we are trained, at least I was, you don't talk about sex, religion,
Mhm.
politics. And with the recent political climate and all these things that are happening in the world, I think people in our industry
Mhm.
and just people in general are just so done with the restrictions. I know for me personally, when it comes to the podcast, when it comes to just being in the salon, my faith is very important to me. And that is like comes first and foremost in my life. So I have kind of loosened the restraints on that, and I have
Mhm.
been able to talk about it more freely with my relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ and praying and journaling and going to church. And it is very much a matter of fact for me in my salon, in the
Mhm.
coaching, the podcast. Like, your
Mhm.
people are going to find you. You just
Right.
have to be sure to stand firm in who you are, what you have to offer, and your clients will find you. They will. It's the same thing for every area.
And
So,
law of attraction. And it's
yeah.
interesting. I've done that recently myself because I found myself, oh, I can't talk about God.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, it was a staff member who said, you know what, Amanda, who says you're the owner? If you believe in God and you want to tell people,
Oh,
you need to share that. And it actually spoke really highly to me. I really changed my mindset there. And it's
yeah.
been probably the last 2 years, I would say, myself too, and not being afraid to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing the response, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
people they're delighted to hear what we have to share, right,
Yeah,
about that. And I
for
think it's
sure.
so important. And the Lord wants that. Like He wanted us to share
Exactly.
for so long,
Like,
you know.
he knows what the plan is, right? We just have to have trust and faith that it's going to work out.
Hmm.
As far as business is concerned, right? Because people
Hmm.
all have their own views. I think you have to be respectful, right? Because you still have a business to run. But I feel like if somebody asks you, then you
Right.
gotta just let it happen and just speak your truth. But yeah, it feels good, especially in a leadership role. This is part of our culture here. This is what we do.
Hmm.
If you don't like it, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
but this is what we do here.
It is
Yeah.
pretty amazing, don't you think? How we've really just our society, we've
Yeah.
changed. I think everyone's ready for a little shift, and it's
Oh,
so
for sure.
heated out there, and just having to stand back and not
Hmm.
say your views, but we can be respectful
Hmm.
and not offend. And I think we need to be supportive of each
Yeah.
other, don't you think?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Prudence. Prudence will and wisdom will help you so much, especially dealing with the public.
Mm-hmm.
You need those tools when you're doing a consultation, when you are reading your client's body language, like you need to know that. And I know like a lot of us come from a place, like we work out of a place of desperation. And so we don't talk about certain things because, oh, we are coming from a place of lack. But I think, and I do believe this, that it's because there's not knowing who you are, what you believe, you're shaky.
Right.
When you know who you are and you know what your gifts and your talents are and what you bring to the table, the aesthetics table or the lash table or whatever it is, what kind of services you render, everything else falls into place. So you don't have to be afraid. And as a woman of faith, like that's a command anyway. Like 365 times in the Bible does it talk about not being afraid. So you have a command every single day to go out there boldly. So it's kind of cool.
Thank you for bringing that up. I think it's
You're
important
welcome.
to recognize, because I've actually recently thought that myself. And
Yeah.
I feel like we shouldn't be afraid of what people think, right? And not worrying about any of that, and just
Right.
don't sweat the small stuff, really, right?
Right.
It's just not important when
It's
you think of
not.
like just showing who you really are, and not being afraid to show your true self. And that kind of brings me to think about gratitude. How does gratitude play a role in your life? Practicing gratitude involves like recognizing and appreciating the good in our lives, and no matter how small. What do you feel?
Gratitude for me, especially lately, I have a bit of a commute to the salon. And so when I drive, that is my getting my pump up time for all the clients and the team. And like, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this today. And then on my way back home, it's like an unwinding time, right? And recently I have caught myself being like, wow, thank you, Lord. Like, this is such a great place that we're in right now. Learning all of these amazing things about myself, about the business, about my staff, their strengths and their weaknesses, the different skin and beauty shows that are happening around the country. And you just come from a place of like, wow, even the terrible things that you go through, or the conversations that you have with your team that are just like, oh my God, why did I say that? Like, ooh,
Yeah.
but just being grateful for each moment because it's a learning experience. They will make you cringe when you replay them, but you needed that moment so you don't ever do it again.
I so agree with you.
Oh, like
It's,
it's been a good time to be grateful for everything.
if you don't fail, how do you know how to
Right.
appreciate a win?
Yeah.
Or, it sets you up for success, right? Later.
Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite failure of yours?
Oh, I love that. Do I have a favorite failure? So in my personal life, it was definitely that terrible relationship in my 20s. Like that was initiation. Without that relationship, it was very toxic, very abusive. I would not have or know my personal and professional boundaries today. So I encourage everybody, not that you get into a bad relationship, but definitely fail forward, like, and fail fast. So you know who you are and what you don't want. There's that. Professionally, also, I feel is like an initiation to the business world in our industry is right before COVID, we had a salon walkout. And I talk about this in my podcast, the Beauty Pro podcast. We had a salon walkout. And we were like, oh my God, what is happening here? And it was really humbling very quickly. Okay, we were able to rebuild, and then COVID happened. And it happened again. But that was 2 times, but those 2 times were necessary because looking back, I saw how my leadership was not what it should have been, right? Micromanaging, and I myself was being toxic with people, and it just was not good. And I have discovered that your personal life and how you feel about yourself, it reflects and bleeds into your professional life. So the same way that you attract clients and coworkers who are like you in that stage, you're gonna attract what you're putting out. And so fast forward now to today, I'm not saying that I have this best amazing boss now, but I have definitely healed whatever those wounds were that I had at that time of those walkouts. And now I have learned a lot about people, staff, myself, the business, that it's like,
Mhm.
okay, now we have this new foundation and we're going to go off of that and talk about being grateful. Like it's just an
Yeah.
amazing growth time for
Yeah.
everybody. And it's like we're all going to be somebody's bad like villain in their story. And I think about those two different teams we had during those like COVID and the time before that. And I think about them and I get word every so often of what's going on in their lives. And I pray
Mhm.
for them. I wish them the best. Um, but then I come back to where I'm at now. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
you know what? I needed those people in my life and vice versa, whether they recognize it or not. But we needed each other to learn what we needed to learn and move forward. And hopefully they did learn
Right.
something. But yeah,
Oh, I love that.
that was a lot.
I think it's great. No, actually, I can 100% tell you, like, I've realized situations where
Yeah.
later on I realized maybe God didn't let something work out
Right.
because, and also I think it's slowing down. Some of us can't even have that time to be able to
Yeah.
recognize, like, okay, this is actually not benefiting me.
Yeah.
And we're just so fast paced that we're just going through the motions, and maybe we do need that downtime. And sometimes for me, it's just quieting my mind and having a quiet space alone,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be for prolonged periods of time, but just being able to have that time to
Hmm.
sometimes let that come to you,
Yeah.
right? And then you realize, wait a minute, this is like an aha moment. This is actually what I want to focus on. And not having that time alone, maybe we don't
Hmm.
see that. And so I
Yeah.
do think the pandemic, there was a blessing there
Oh,
because I
yeah.
did a lot of healing as well,
Mm.
and just there's so many things I think so many of us need to recognize, and maybe it's a simple shift and just being aware
Yeah.
and just step back and assess, right? And just see
Hmm.
how you're feeling, and just see how you're feeling in general. Where's your stress level?
Right.
If it's not
Right.
good, then, maybe we need to reassess, and it's okay to have
Hmm.
that take time. It's a process, right? It's
Yeah.
not overnight.
Mm-mm.
But if you take a simple step in the right direction, it can maybe
Right.
really benefit you in the long run. So I think so many of us, we're in that same boat. So I'm really
Hmm.
happy you shared that experience. Thanks for being
Absolutely.
vulnerable because people need to hear
Absolutely.
that. It's so
Yeah.
important to share our journeys. And would you
Hmm.
say when you get home from work, are there any simple habits like wellness routines that you can recommend for people?
Okay, because we deal with people, as soon as you walk in the doors, you are on. Like it doesn't stop till like whatever whenever you close. Um what I do is as soon as I get home, I open the door, I let my dog out, and he basically rules my life at home. So he's a little beagle, and I just like open the door, I let him out. I make sure that for my own wellness that I play with this little animal, this little creature of nature, and I'm outside and I go for a walk and I do all those things because it's a healing, decompressing state. Um,
Mhm.
I have this theory, Adam and Eve were in a garden and gardens are outside. So technically, we are meant to be outside. This
Right,
whole thing
yes.
of being inside is like not natural. So I
Yeah.
I try to I try to be outside a lot. So that's one habit. Then the other habit is that as soon as I get home, I detach. Like I don't talk. I zen out. I will
Mhm.
endlessly, mindlessly scroll on my phone and I'll just like hang out. I'll watch TV, watch movies. I try to connect with friends and family, because that to me, that is my version of success, being able to connect with the people who actually matter and you make time for those people because those people are going to be around
Mhm.
when your client of 20 years decides, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore, and they leave.
Mm.
then what?
Right.
So that's what I try to do as of now. That is my habits. It's me, my dog, and silence.
I love that. I love the technique you have with getting outside and just grounding
Yeah.
is so necessary. We need to watch that and just be aware, and trying to
Yeah.
make that a daily habit of, even if it's
Um,
minimal time.
yeah. And somebody was telling me, and I have been doing this the last couple days, is getting outside, yes. But like stand without your shoes on, like bare feet, just stand
Yes.
in the grass on the
Hmm.
earth and just like feel it and take a couple steps in nature like that. It's
Right.
very healing to your muscles and your body and just your mind.
Hmm.
And I have shin splints, and so it actually helps those too. so
Right.
so,
That's
so it's
great.
it's awesome. Just do
Hmm.
it. Especially if you're in the room all day with like Zen music on and all these essential oils. That's great. But get out there and enjoy
Hmm.
nature. It's amazing.
I've heard you're supposed to start your day with that grounding, and then it sets the
Oh,
tone for the day. But easier said than done.
I'm backwards.
Especially in Minnesota, it's hard too. Like there's snow on the ground, like,
Yeah, I would
or
not
if there's
advise that.
ice.
Ooh,
I,
I'm
there
in
is that.
Florida, guys. I'm very sorry.
But good intentions, right? You have
Yeah.
good intentions,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
think baby steps. It takes baby
yeah.
steps,
Yeah.
in the right direction.
Yeah.
What do you feel like? Is there one of the what's the best investment you would say you've made for yourself?
The best in okay, this is gonna sound really funny, and I'm probably gonna sound like a crazy dog mom, but getting my dog was the biggest eye opener, I mean, the most expensive investment. But having this animal, okay, who I do cherish, it revealed a lot about myself, who I am as a nurturer. I noticed that I have been a lot softer, even with my team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, more sentimental, more understanding with people in general. My own emotions, like it's been a very healing process. Just owning a pet and taking care of something else.
Mm-hmm.
You also, at least for me, I get to see different family members and how they have responded to this pet, to this animal. And you get to see who they really are, like their true colors. And I feel like that has been the best investment for me. I really during COVID, I had a COVID garden, like so many other people. And then I was like, that was a test. I was like, you know what? I'm going to have this garden and I'm going to have my own fruits and vegetables. And if I can keep these things alive, then I'll get a pet, a dog or something. And then I'll be ready to have kids and our relationship. So there's been a lot of pressure on these things,
Yes.
but it has proven to be the best thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for anybody listening, if you have a pet, great. Really, if you have kids, even better. Like, those are the ultimate tests for you of who you are, right? So, I'm all about that. I'm all about the self awareness piece. You're able to work and function better if you know where you stand. I've said that already, like, I don't know how many times in each of these, but that's just how I feel. And that's where
Mm-hmm.
I'm at. And I feel the best coaching holistically happens in that space.
Mm-hmm. I love
So,
that. I think it's great because you're
yeah,
you're going through it, and you're
yeah,
working that, you're seeing the results, right, with that
right.
journey in place. And I love that the animals, I feel like they give us unconditional love.
Yeah.
That they're always unconditionally loving, and it's very much a good thing to have pets
Mhm.
around. I think it's
Yeah.
important to see, like you said, with your family, how great
Yeah.
is that, just to see the joy. I mean, you've seen in like nursing homes how beneficial
Yes.
having just an animal, and they bring so much
Like,
joy.
for us workaholics, having an animal, You have to, you must stop what you're doing to go take care of it, because it has to go out, it has to eat, it has to do all these things. And so I feel like a lot of us in our industry, we will keep going. And then we got gastrointestinal problems and abusive relationships. Why? Because we're not stopping to focus on what matters.
So anything you want to talk about that you haven't shared?
I know for us, a lot of people listen to podcasts and they get personal coaches and they go to the hair and skin shows because they want the formula to make six figures yesterday. And they want to make sure that they make that money fast and that they can get those red bottom shoes and they can just like show off, right? A big part of my belief system when it comes to coaching or to the industry or to business or whatever, because that's, we need money to pay the bills. Therapy and coaching go together, okay? Therapy, you focus on why you do the things that you do, your history. Coaching meets you where you're at currently to get you to where you want to be in X amount of days, months, years. I personally believe in that holistic approach, meeting the whole person where they are. And if you don't know what's going on in your heart and in your mind, that six-figure formula that you are going to follow religiously, it's not going to work, because here and here don't match. And then you're going to add in something that is an absolute truth, right? 1 + 1 always equals 2. You have a truth and then this disconnect. It's like a circle and a square. It's not going to work.
It's hard.
So I personally want to share with everybody, whether you work with me or with any coach, make sure that you are honest with yourself. Like, be real and raw with yourself and know where your weaknesses are and know that you're not going to have all the answers and you don't know everything. And I feel like that's the first step, being humble and facing the hard stuff, like confronting it, is your first step, baby, minuscule step to getting those six figures that you want. Because those six figures, if you are following the law and you're knowing who you are and you have a strong belief system, that absolute truth is always going to be there. But if you're not nurturing yourself and your family and your healthy relationships, that money stuff is not going to come.
I've had a spiritual wellness coach. I still do.
Oh, that's so good.
And just finding too, like, if your chakras are out of place and your heart, where it controls like the money space, and there's so many things that you can hold on to that you don't even realize that are affecting your daily occurrences. And that to me was like light bulb moment, like, oh, I realized.
I love coach. I have coaches for everything. And it's so amazing because you just need that one insight, that one little, and you're like, oh, I guess I have a problem.
And I think it's fascinating if you realize, like, we can break generational curses too. I mean, some of it there's genetics that we don't even realize that our ancestors may have gone through, and we don't even realize we're carrying that. But to me, it's fascinating to figure it out.
Totally.
And then you can change that genetic makeup, and who says it has to be this way? Or, when you talk about like with health too, if it's something with like, if you have like cardiac issues in your family or whatever it may be, weight issues, you can change that. You know, it's putting your mind to whatever it is that you want. And it's possible, right? It doesn't have to be the way that we are right now. And it's okay to make change. I think change is hard too for so many. Don't you think it's hard to just see a change in how that's going to change things as a whole, like overall? But sometimes it's just a little shift that can lead to bigger and better changes, in the long run. So I think it's great that we're on the same page. I mean, I think we need support. And there's people that are qualified that can help in whatever area, right, that we're needing to focus on. And I have a great question for you. So if you had a gigantic billboard, anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, getting a message out to millions or billions, what would it say and why?
I have actually thought about putting a billboard.
I love it.
So, so I already have the answer to this question. However, I do want to preface it in that I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm really coming from a place of my own spiritual well-being, and I have experienced the peace and tranquility of what I'm going to tell you is not going to be on my billboard. And it's up to you, right? I'm going to present it to you and you get to take it, and you have the privilege of going for it or not going for it. And so for me, my personal billboard, it would simply say, read the Bible. That's it. That's all it would say.
Favorite. Yes, I love that.
That's it. Like, I have always considered like, oh, well, I can have that one billboard and I can have one for my business, but business is very different because it's very, you have to be very, fine tuning in your demographic of what kind of person you want in your salon, which that's fine. Okay. But for me, for a general aesthetic, for a general thing, that's what I would want because it fits everybody and every culture. You can go for it and you can read it, or you don't and you don't have to, and that's fine. But that is what I would put on my billboard.
I'm so touched by that because that's been my daily thought. I even said to my son, he's 21, but I think we need to make sure we're reading our Bibles. And I grew up with a very strong religion, and I think it's important to continue that, and especially with focusing every day. I so love that. I think it's great. And like you said, if it touches someone, great. They don't have to agree with it, but hopefully they'd be open to it. But it's like you said, it's just putting it out there, and it's so important. So as far as like with your coaching, anything there you want to, share with any listeners that can maybe benefit, or where could they find you?
Absolutely. So depending on when this episode airs, I will say that this year I will be at several different beauty and skin shows across the country. So you can actually find out which ones they are by finding me on Instagram at the Beauty Pro Coach. And so there's that. And then as far as coaching with me is concerned, or maybe you just need like just a single call, you have a single question, you just need answered or brainstorm something, feel free to reach out to me. I do offer complimentary coaching calls year round. Currently, right now, I'm doing a bit of a challenge for myself and teaching and getting 100 coaching calls in 90 days. So I would definitely encourage you to book your call with me. That challenge is going to be continuing until April 5th, I believe. And so reach out to me.
Okay,
let's
listeners,
talk.
do you hear that? You should reach out to her. She's here. She's willing to help and ready to listen. And I think that's a great thing. I think some momentum can definitely be built there. And it's great timing, like this time of the year.
Yeah.
And what would you say, like, do you have your mentor what's the best advice that they've given you? Would you say anything that's helped?
I have many, but I will say the one thing that comes to mind right now is slow down to speed up. That I when I was younger, I worked at Victoria's Secret, and
So did I.
You did?
It was one of my first jobs. Yes.
It was
16.
Yes, I loved that job. It was so fun.
So fun.
I would go in and be like, "Hey, angels," it was so fun. And my manager at the time, she goes, Krystine, you need to slow down, breathe, and then you can speed up. And I was like, okay.
Yes.
So it always stuck with me. And so I will say that.
I noticed that too. Sometimes it's like, even our energy, don't you feel like with clients, like if we set that tone, we can help, slow that down, slow the mind down, and just have a little bit more of a calming atmosphere. And because it is like I've been the Tasmanian devil before. It's just, it's easy to do.
I catch myself doing that, and I'm always like, "Oh, okay, wait, come back."
Yes. I love it. If I didn't do deep breathing, I don't know if I'd make it through a day. Honestly, it's really a requirement.
Yeah,
for me
for sure.
several times a day.
For sure.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. I have one last question.
Okay.
If it was your last day on earth, what would you say would be your last thought or advice that you would give to someone?
If it was my last day on earth, I would definitely be with my family, probably my mom. And my thought would, oh, wow, this is a deep one, Amanda. A very emotional one. I would definitely be with my mom, and I would make sure that she knew that I loved her. You were gonna make me cry, girl. Oh
Sorry.
my God.
Hopefully good tears.
No, yeah, definitely. This
Happy
is,
tears.
ooh, yeah. So just definitely make sure my family knew that I loved them, and yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there because I'm gonna
Okay,
cry.
that's okay. We can leave it at that.
I was not expecting that one.
Sorry about that. On a Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
emotions there.
It's all the love. Yeah, it's
know?
all the love.
It's great. Well, if you guys have any questions that, you've been struggling with
Yeah.
or you need coaching personally or professionally, please reach out to Krystine. She's very willing to help with that. And do you have a website that
I
people can
do.
find you?
TheBeautyProCoach.com.
And it's been an honor to have you as a guest speaker.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate it taking the time today. So thanks for another episode on All in Wellness. And until next time, bye for now. Wellness is a daily destination. We are here to support you every step of the way. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to hear all future episodes. Thank you for being a part of our community and for tuning in today.